that opportunity or that work to do it, the poor and her partner, they said that the Hebrew women gave birth before even anybody knew that they were going to give birth. So they were special women, and God was very happy with them. And then Pharaoh went to the people of Egypt, all of them, and he gave them a mandate, an order, that everybody who gets a child in Hebrew homes who are born as boys, they must throw them in the river. So what happened? Now every child had to be thrown in the river, which was a boy. And that means there was no boy who can survive, but there is a significance of sending the boy to the river because the river is life, because that ideology came from God, although Pharaoh, who is in this form is like a Satan to us, he thought that he's doing the right thing, but God is going to save some of the children through that way, because some will flow with the river and they will go to the areas of Goshen. They will find other places they can be relieved. So we start chapter 2, where we start with the preparation of the leaders of the redemption. That is in chapter 2, verse 1 to 4. And we see what God is going to do. Moses is redeemed from the murder. So now a man of the house of Levi married a woman, a Levite woman. So one thing you got to understand in the first verse is talking about the chosen people of God. You know, God said, out of all the children of Jacob, he had chosen the children of Levi. And Levi here is the person who was chosen to be a servant of the Lord. And we are going to see how God is going to use him in a mighty way, because already he has not chosen him yet. But now you can see there is something which is happening right now, because the word starts here that the Levi man married a Levite woman. That means this seed is not involved with another seed. Is not married to Reuben, is not married to Simon, neither to Zebulun or any other. Is not mixed. And you remember in the book of Genesis, we talked in details about the children of Jacob and how they became so bad, how they misbehaved, how they did so many bad things, even as far as selling their brother to go to Egypt. And these people, these 12 boys, they were no good except Joseph, and who went to another land, and he became a different person because he became more or less an Egyptian. And you can see the other people, like his brother Benjamin, he was the right person. He stayed with his father. So he was consoling his father, because after his mother died, Rachel, there was nothing remaining for the woman that was so much loved by Jacob. So the only thing that Jacob could clean on is this son called Benjamin, because Joseph was no more. And he is the person who took all the children of Israel into Egypt. But he became a person of Egypt. We did all that in Genesis. So now, when it comes to the Levites, you remember, I would like you to remember something about the Levites. There are two boys, Levites or Levi and his brother Simon. These two brothers in Genesis chapter 35, when their sister was somehow raped by the son of Shechem, and they were not happy after their father told them about the rape of their sister Dinah. What they did, they went into that area or that place of every member of the family.
You know they have their game Saturday at St. Andrews.
Let me get some message. Who is talking?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
So what happened? They went and killed everybody after circumcision in that land. And Jacob was not very happy with them. And he was very close, and he said that they did not do the right thing. So he had to run away from that area and go back to his place of inheritance. So out of these two sons, God chose one. And we can see how Moses is going to redeem them later on as we continue studying the book. So now God do not want to mix this seed of the Levites. He wants this man of a Levite to marry a woman who is a Levite. That is, the seed will be from two different people. The seed and the womb will be the same. And the bloodline will be clear, so that God can use this person with a blood without blemish. And God doesn't like mixes. That's what he's trying to teach us. And as we go to verse 2, we see, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. This is not her first child. Although we can see as if it is the first child, they say that she got pregnant and gave birth to a son. We are going to know that there are other children which she had. This child was not the first one, because there was another 2 children, and we are going to see about them. But this is particular. That's why we are being told about him. This son was different from the first one and was different from the second child. So that is why God is trying to tell us that this son, so that we can take some speciality in this child who is born, who is very different from the others. And that's why God is taking our minds to know about this son and be particular about this son, because he doesn't want us to think about the other children of this Levite man and the Levite woman, but he wants us to take consideration about this son. And what happens is not a daughter. These are things you are going to note. A son and a daughter, there is going to be a lot of difference when they are being described around here. And one thing I would like you to put in mind when we are studying this book of Exodus is one thing I want you to note, that is as if is a play, is a scene of play, is an act, because it will be Moses and God and people, Moses and God. If you have read some prayers like Julius Caesar and other praise which you have watched in the theater, this will be very interesting, because it will be a kind of discussion, a kind of refusing to answer each other, a kind of argument, a kind of intercession for other people who are not there. So these things, you got to note them. This is a kind of discussion, a person arguing with God and a person chosen by God, talking to God on behalf of other people, and also a person who could argue because he believed he had a right to argue. And this is going to teach us that when you are going to talk to God or God talks to you, it is for you as a child of God to tell God exactly what you want, because God will listen and God will talk with you. And the other point is, I want you to note about the name Lord and the name God and the name of the Holy Spirit, because Holy Spirit is not there for you, but we are going to refer it in a different way. The major names you are going to get is the Lord and God. These 2 names are going to move together, and you got to know the difference, because the Lord means the word Jesus. That is the meaning of the Lord of Lords. And God means spirit. These 2 things you must differentiate. These are the very deep things for you to understand now, because God is the spirit. Because the Bible says in the book of John 24, 4 verse 24, the Gospel of John, it says that God is a spirit. When you know about that, those who worship him, they worship in spirit and truth. That is, God is a spirit. So the moment you hear about the word God, you relate it with the spirit. And that is the most powerful thing to understand, because God, the spirit, lives in us. So it is in us. So the moment you understand this thing and the creator, how they are going, the word and the creator, because these are now the man, the creator, and the spirit. They are working together now in the book of Exodus. These things I want you to understand. And I pray God that he will open your mind and you understand the code in it. So now we can see that the son is born, and this son have got no name. We are not given a name, although he's a child of the Levites. And so what happened? After 3 months, the mother hid the baby. What happens after 3 months? The child can cry. The neighbors can know that in that house there is a child. So now there was no way of hiding this child. And it was declared by the Pharaoh that every born child must be thrown into the river. So now the mother knew there was no protection that she could give to this child, because the child can run out anytime and everybody will know a child is there who is a boy. So she decided to do something about this 3 months, because now the child can survive without suckling the mother or without getting the milk from the mother. The child can survive. That's why now After 3 months, you cannot find a child because the noise and the way the child cries, the way the child behaves, everybody in the neighborhood will start knowing in that house there is a baby. But when she hid him, no longer. She got a papyrus basket and to him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds. So what happens? There is a river there. The same place that Pharaoh is saying that the children should be thrown in, she's going to do the same thing that nobody will follow up. Now you can see the idea of this mother. She's very wise, because if she takes a child to any other place, everybody will be looking at this baby or punish it or get it and kill it, whatever. But she uses the same river which the Pharaoh had given an order that all the boys must be thrown in the river. So she makes a tar, a kind of an ark, like that of Noah, and she makes this with the tar and the pitch. The tar, you know what is tarmac, which is used for tarmac, whatever. You can remember what Noah did during that time of the ark. And this is the same thing that she did. Is a kind of salvation, is a kind of the way to save the child, because the tar and the reeds will be able to float on the water. The child cannot be able to be drowned. So she's very careful that the child will not be drowned. Wherever she will go, God will be with the child. That also shows the faith in this woman. This woman knows that when she believes something, she has got a total faith. And that's why she does that, because they had an idea inherited in that generation, because there was civilized generation in Egypt at those times, that they could use the coat, the coated with the tar and the pitch and the reeds which were being used in those years. And if you can refer a little bit of history, these people are using reeds to travel to many places to make ship, and the dhows to travel to many places. So she had an idea, because the reeds boats were built in Egypt. So she had that idea because they were living in Egypt, and because of their generations have been in Egypt for over 400 years now, she could understand many things easily. And that's what she did. A clever woman knows what to do because she learns from the surrounding. So she was learning, although she was not a man, but she knew what to do. And we are not hearing much about the father of Moses. Not that. We are not hearing much about him, but we are hearing much about the children and their mother. So what happened? She took the small ark into the river and among the reeds. You understand what are the reeds? They are the long grasses, the very long grasses which are found near the rivers, and in most places we have seen them, even in Africa, near the rivers, we have these reeds which make mikeka and all those things. So this is what she did, and she put it along the river Nile. So this thing is happening in Africa. So what happens? And when she puts it there, what happens? She doesn't just leave that thing there alone. The ark is not alone. She puts the baby there, covers it very well so that it cannot be used, or it cannot be spoiled by anybody, or the child cannot be burnt by the sun. So she puts it with a cover and she leaves it in the river. And what happened? His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Now you can see they had another child. Moses had a sister who now stood at a distance to watch what will happen to that ark, that small ark. So the sister, we are going to get who is this sister. So it's the daughter of Jochebed. That is, the mother is called Jochebed. So then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the river to bathe. So she did it during the time when the Pharaoh's daughter was usually going to the river to bathe in the morning. So she was exact on time. This is divine. She knew, or they knew the time the daughter of Pharaoh goes to the river to bathe. And this is the time they are putting that ark near that place that this lady goes to bathe, hoping that something will happen. But this is divine, because it's a kind of the spirit reading this woman, telling her what to do and what to do at the right time. And this is one of the most important things we must understand, that when the Spirit of God speaks to you, because she could have come the previous day, or could wait until the next day. But this day particularly, it was a divine connection because it was hearing from the Spirit. Among the people, even if the Hebrews did not know about God for many years, 400 years, and they had lost their faith in everything, but still because of problem, they knew what to do. And knowing what to do, she had faith and she could listen to the Spirit inside her and know what is the right time and what is not the right time. So she went, this lady, who is the daughter of Pharaoh, came to bathe at that particular hour, and her attendants were walking along the river banks. So the ladies, the maids who move with the daughter of Pharaoh, the ladies who serve her, they started moving around to look. That is kind of security, looking around what is happening, whether there is any enemy, whether there is anything bad, because the daughter of Pharaoh is going to be in the river to swim, because that is the way to bathe in the morning. So what happens when they are walking along the banks of the river? Something happened. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her slave to get it. The daughter of Pharaoh saw something in the river. She saw that basket moving around on top of water, floating around. And she sent her slave, one of the maids, go and take that thing. Because if the daughter of Pharaoh had not seen it earlier, the maids could have ignored it and pushed it to the river because they were Egyptians. But you see, God made it sure that the daughter of Pharaoh was the first person to see the basket. So what happened? She sent somebody to go and pick up that basket. And she opened it and saw that the baby was crying. And she felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrew babies, she said. You see, they could not forget to make the difference of the children. What I want you to note here, the lady is using the word Hebrew for the first time. And what makes her to say, this is a Hebrew child? There is a reason to that, because you can't know every child who is born that is a Hebrew. And remember very well, this child had finished how many days? 3 months. So 3 months, and we know in the laws of Hebrew, a child was being circumcised at the age of 80 days after birth. So the Hebrew children are circumcised after 8 days. And we can know that is the same time Jesus also was circumcised. So now the daughter of Pharaoh, looking at this child, immediately she saw the circumcision, because that shows the boy was naked. The boy had no clothes on. She was just lying inside there in the basket. And that's why she says the boy is a child, a Hebrew child, because the Egyptians were not getting circumcised. Hello, did you understand here? The Egyptians did not get circumcision, boys. So now it was easier for her to know that this child was a Hebrew. And in addition to that, she was a woman with a kind heart. And maybe she never had a child. That's why she has got compassion on this child. And now, because this child do not belong to anybody, the child is in the river, what could she do? She saw the baby crying, and she was sorry. That is, she was compassionate. She loved that child, and she knew the child belongs to no one, because no one could claim that child who was in the river. She knew that this is one of the children of the Hebrews also, who are being thrown in the river. So there were two reasons. One thing, the children who are being thrown in the river, they were Hebrews. And the other thing, this child must have been circumcised. So these two reasons gave her a reason to know that this child is a Hebrew child. So even if she's compassionate about the boy, there is something else, because no Egyptian could save a child from the Hebrew, because all the Egyptians wanted the Hebrew to be thrown in the river, all the boys. So for his sister, and asked Pharaoh's daughter. So the sister was very near there. She ran there. She's a very wise young lady, and she's not fearing. I want you to note about this sister of Moses, and she's Miriam. She's not fearful. She's just near in those reeds. And you can see she was walking in that water among the reeds, watching his brother, what will happen to him. So she was daring. She was very daring. And we shall see her a lot in the book of Exodus until she dies. Now, the thing is, she runs to the daughter of Pharaoh immediately. She doesn't wait, because she knows If she gives a moment, something will happen. The daughter of Pharaoh will make a different decision. So what happens when you see something you want, is good to act immediately. So she acts immediately. She goes to the daughter of Pharaoh. She said, shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? Already she's giving her the decision. You see, it is very rhetorical. She's telling her what is the reality. And now she can't run away from the reality because she can't breastfeed this baby. She can't do anything about this baby. Now she wants the baby. She have got compassion on the baby and what to do with the baby. And the baby is still very young. And this girl comes with a solution. Now coming with a solution, shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to come and nurse the baby for you? Already the girl is giving the daughter of Pharaoh the child. The child is yours now. Nobody now will claim the child because you have found the child. But can I bring you somebody, a Hebrew woman who will take care of the baby? What do you think the idea is? She wants to bring her own mother. Hello? She wants to bring her own mother to breastfeed this child and continue taking or nursing or nurturing this child. So what will the daughter of Pharaoh say? She has got no alternative. She says, yes, go. And she is allowed to go. So immediately you can see how clever this girl is. Miriam is not an easy girl. She's tough, but you know, she's still young. And what happened? She's told, then go. And then she answered, and the girl went and got baby's mother. She got her own mother to come. Now you see, now the child of the Hebrew is already in the house of Pharaoh, who is saying that they must be killed. And now the mother is going in the same house to get to take care of her own son in a different environment, which was not being expected by any Hebrew. And now this is how God works miracles. Whatever happens, it happens. Now you can see the boy is in the Pharaoh's hands because of the daughter. And now the mother is going to the house. We can see Pharaoh's daughter said to her, now when the mother came, the Pharaoh's daughter told Jacob, take this baby and nurse him for me, and I'll pay you. Now, Mama Moses is going to be paid salary for taking care of her own baby. God will do anything and will get you the wealth of the wicked in your possession. It doesn't matter which way he's going to do it, but that is the way he is going to do it. So you can see now, the mother is going to have the baby. And you know, even if she doesn't live inside the palace, inside the house of Pharaoh, she has been given a mandate, go and take care of this baby first and take care of the baby. So the daughter of Pharaoh will come for the baby later on. So now the child will be brought up in the proper Hebrew system because the mother is a Hebrew. She will be there with the baby. I don't know for how long, but for quite a few years before the child goes to school. And now what happens? So, and she will be getting salary every month or whatever time they were using to pay, and also getting the needs of the baby. All of them will come from the house of Pharaoh. The same person killing is just like the time of Ahab. During the time of kings, when Ahab and Jezebel, they were very bad in Israel. What happened? We had people like Obadiah who are on his table, who are cooking in the king's table. That is Ahab and Jezebel, queen. And they were taking food from there, taking them to the caves to give to the servant of the Lord, who are 100 hidden in the caves. So God will always have somebody, even in the house of the king. Even during the time of Uzziah, we hear Isaiah was always in the house of Uzziah. And that's why he could not see God until God removed Uzziah, so that Isaiah can see God. So you can see, God always has somebody somewhere. So you don't have to fear. You don't know which place God is going to use you next. And this is what happens. Now Moses, what happened? So the woman took a baby and nursed him. So Jacob took the baby and went with the baby, her own baby. Now the baby is not going to die in the river. The child have gone back to the house of Amram and Jochebed. That is the man and the woman. And now the child being there, who will take care of the child? There is Miriam, and there is the elder brother who is there. We shall discover him, or we know him. He is an elder brother who is Harun. So now there are family. The child is back in the family. The Lord God has protected Moses from death in a way that Moses will get money from the same enemy. He will use that money from that house to take care of Moses. Now, when the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, I drew him out of the water. This is what happened. After some years, after the child won or did what we call it winning, that is stopping, circling the mother or whatever, and now he was a big boy running around in the village a little bit. Now he could know the people around him. You know, when the child is growing, the child is noting who is around their home. And she knows that is so and so, although even the child cannot talk, but the memories are very good. So now, the way she has been brought up in the house of Jacob, house of her mother, now she knows the people who comes to visit regularly, the family and the family members, and she's a young boy. And now that when he was ready now for him to go to school or nursery or wherever, now the Jacobed takes the child to the daughter of Pharaoh and said, now your son is grown up, you can take care of him. Now he's strong enough. That means now the child can be independent or is independent. And what does the daughter of Pharaoh say? I have to give him the name, because Jacobed was very wise that they did not give Moses any name. They did not give him any name because they knew now if they give him any name, it will be a problem with the daughter of Pharaoh. They won't be happy. So she had to wait for the daughter of Pharaoh to believe that to adopt this child to be hers so that he can have a life. You know, the mothers do not want their children dead. They can allow you to stay with the child, give him any name, but don't kill it. And you can remember even that happened in the time of Solomon, when the two women were fighting about a baby. One of them had died at night, and the other one, when Solomon said, bring the sword, I divide this child in two halves, the one who was the mother said, no, don't, but just give that woman, let her go with the baby. That is, the woman likes her baby to live. Nobody will kill her own child. Now, what happened? Now he was given a name, Moses, meaning what? He came from life. Coming from water means he came from life. So she doesn't want to know who is the mother. Even she's not sure whether this is the mother, but she knows his life because we know water is life. So he came from life, Moses, in the name of Egyptians. So now we can see Moses tries to redeem by murder. He's trying now to save. Now he's grown up. He have gone to school. He have become a grown-up man in Egypt. He have been trained. And in fact, they're expecting him to be a pharaoh because he was going to inherit the kingdom. So now, and he was very obedient boy, very learned, very strong, and very courageous because of the history we can get about him. And now he's redeeming some of his people, the same people he saw when he was a young boy. There is a blood pool. Now he knows these people belongs to him, but he cannot talk about it. But you see, he knows he's a Hebrew inside him. So what happened? One day after Moses had grown up, you see, now he's grown up. How do you expect his age to be? He could be around 18 years. Now he's able to move around by himself. That is, he's out of school, or 20 years. Now he's a grown-up man. And after he grew up, he went out to where his own people. He went out to where his own people were and watched them of their hard work. He went and watched them doing their hard work. That is, they were still slaves. And he went to see them now when he was a grown-up to see how they were working as slaves. And when he was watching them, looking at them, and this is one thing you got to note, the Bible says to his own people. He's not talking about, the Bible is not telling us the Egyptians are his people. He's telling us Moses went to his own people. That is the Hebrews. When he went there and he saw that they were slaves, he saw how they were being tortured. Now, he was not happy, but what happened? He was an Egyptian. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. Again, one of his own people were being beaten by an Egyptian. What do you think he felt? he felt bad because blood is thicker than water. So he felt very bad. But what about his wearing and how he appears, Moses, now? He appears like an Egyptian. He's wearing like an Egyptian. So you can't see the difference. So the Egyptian soldier who is beating around the Hebrew man, what happened? He beats him in such a way that Moses is not happy. And what happens? Glancing this way and that way, and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. So what he did, he took that Egyptian soldier, pulled him a little. Nobody could ask a question because he was a senior in Egypt. The way he was wearing and the respect he had, and maybe he had some powerful clothes from the Paris. So he was known, he's a senior man in Paris. He was nobody could argue with him. So he took this man aside. He looked east and west and wherever, side by side, and he saw there is nobody. What does that mean? He was also fearing, because being in the house of the Pharaoh, you cannot kill your own people also where you are being fed and where you stay, because now he's a son, adopted son of this woman or sister, or they refer to her as the daughter of Pharaoh, and we go with that. This daughter of Pharaoh now is the mother of this young man. And so he doesn't want anybody to see him killing an Egyptian. So that's why he's careful. He wants to do it quietly, that he cannot be noted by anybody. And when he kills him, and he's not sure whether he has killed him, because he just strangled him or did something, and then he buried him in the sand. It was easy for him to bury. If it is a place like here or any other places, it could be very different. But in the desert, Egypt is a desert. I remember when I was there sometimes, some years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago, it is total desert, and there is sand is like sugar, you know, a lot of sand. So all what you do is push sand a little bit away and then put the body there and cover it immediately. That's what it means. You don't need anybody to come and help you. You can use your hands to bring the sand together and cover that body. And then it will burn because of the heat of the desert. But you know, deserts at night, they are very cold. So what happened? He buried it in the sand. He buried that body. And he knew, according to him, nobody had seen him. But let me tell you, it is very hard to hide a secret to anyone. So the next day, he comes around. He went out and saw 2 Hebrews now. Next day, Moses went out. He didn't know that anybody had noted that he had killed somebody. So next day when he went out, he saw 2 people, his own people, fighting each other. He asked the one in the wrong, "Why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew?" He asked them, "Why are you fighting your fellow Hebrew and you are hitting your own people?" And that person answered in a very different way, some kind of satirical, some kind of trying to satirically, he told him. The man said, "Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian?" Moses was afraid and thought that what I did had been known. Now here is the first prophecy of Moses being a judge and a leader. It comes from somebody to speak those words of what you are going to be. It is solely, now you got to understand how the prophecy comes and the power of the word. Moses did not know that he was going to be a leader, but God uses that opportunity, that divine time, to tell Moses who he is. And what happened? The man said, "Who made you a ruler to rule us? And who made you a judge to judge us?" You see, they're asking, who made you that? Because they don't have any clue how he comes to judge them, and he's also a killer. You know, they're judging him as a killer. So now what happened? Moses gets worried. He has fear now, because being an Egyptian in one way, now he knows if the people have discovered that he killed, which he was not very sure, and he was sure that nobody had seen him, now he's being told by his own people, who have made you our leader and who have made you our judge, and you killed somebody yesterday and you killed an Egyptian. He became fearful. And being fearful, that means something is going to happen to him, because if he is a leader who is supposed to enslave these people and he's the one killing his own people, it is not a good idea. So when Pharaoh heard about this, he tried to kill Moses. So the news reached Pharaoh. And what could Pharaoh do? He wanted to kill Moses too, because he killed a very small Egyptian, but that was a very big mistake in the land of Egypt, killing their own. So what happened? But Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in Midian, where he sat down by the well. So Moses had to run away. He went into exile. This kind of running away is going to exile. He had to run away from that place so that he could not be killed by Pharaoh. So running away, it helps him. God will always make a way for you if he wants to use you in future, or to use you with a certain purpose. So what Moses did, he did not even say bye-bye to the family or to anybody. He just decided to run away and go south to the land of Midianites and go and stay there, which is this land of Midianites. The land of Midianites, if you remember very well, the Midianites were somehow related with the house of Jacob. And how are they related? This is the way they were related. Now, if you remember that person, their grandfather who was called Abraham, in chapter 25 of the Genesis, when Sarah died in chapter 24, and in chapter 25, this man Abraham went somewhere else and married another woman. When he married another woman, the other woman was called Keturah. Keturah gave him 6 sons. Among the 6 sons of Abraham by Keturah, one of them was called Midian. And this is now the father of Jethro, or the relative of Jethro, the grandfather of Jethro and others. So Moses is going there, and Moses comes from the blood of Isaac. And Isaac was the son of Sarah. So the same thing from Abraham. So now he goes there. Now you can see he's a relative, but at a distance. So they had the faith of Abraham. That's when he went there. The first thing a person of God goes to, where you can get help, is to go to where there is water. That is well. That is life. Now, he was in the desert. He had to look for a well where he could get some water because he was thirsty. And when he got some water, it was in the land of the Midianites. And the Midianites were some of cousins, distant cousins to them. So after getting water from the well, he slept there. He just stayed there. And after staying there for some time, now a priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water and fill the troughs of water for their father's flocks. So there was a man, a priest of Midian. Because you remember, I told you, Abraham, any family coming from Abraham, they were priests, because Abraham was a priest. He was in that lineage of the chosen people of God. So now, the family of Keturah, this one was a priest, the Midianite. And now, this priest had 7 daughters. Now, that is a relativity of 7 in the Bible. You can remember 7 angels, 7 spirits, and 7 women in Isaiah. And you can remember 7 churches in the book of Revelation. You can remember all these 7, 7, 7. It means the perfection of God. So now there are 7 daughters, 7 churches here. And one of them is given, or is going to be given to Moses. Now, these 7 daughters were the ones working, taking care of the flock. It's like the churches were taking care of themselves, their 7 churches. And what happened? Some shepherds came along and drove them away, but Moses got up and came to their rescue and watered their flocks. So Moses, when he saw that the ladies were being pushed by men who came also to take care of their sheep or flocks, Moses decided to help the women, the 7 women. And now what happens, when he helped the 7 women, he helped them to water their flock, and then they were very happy because it was still very early and the men could not fight Moses. What does it tell you here? Moses was very strong and highly trained fighter, because he could push those people out and they could not argue with him, and he was so powerful. So when the girls returned to Reuel, their father, he asked them, "Why have you returned so early?" Even the old man was confused. The daughters were usually coming late because they were to be last to water their flock. But this time they came home very early, and the father was somehow perplexed, somehow confused. And he's asking a question, why did you come so early? What happened? And then the daughter said, they answered, an Egyptian saved us from the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock. So now they are not referring him as a Hebrew because they don't know him like a Hebrew. Because what that means, Moses is wearing like an Egyptian, and even his character and appearance looks like Egyptian. So that's why the daughters of Jethro are saying that they met with an Egyptian who helped them to fight the shepherds, and the shepherds were not able to fight him. And so he took care of them and even watered their flock. So this man had 7 daughters. So what will happen? He has found a son. So, and where is he? He asked, and his daughter, why did you leave him? Invite him to have something to eat. So the father now tells the daughter, go and get that man. Go and bring him. Because what? The father have found an opportunity. If this man can fight those shepherds, all of them, and he's alone, he's the right person to be in this household, because I am a father of daughters alone without a son. So he tells the daughters, go and get him and bring him so that he can eat something here with us. And because one thing, he was told he was an Egyptian. So he thought that the Egyptian who was traveling was going to another place, so he was passing by. So prior to passing by, come home, have something, and then you continue with your journey. Or if otherwise, we shall see. So Moses agreed to stay with the man, and who gave him his daughter Zipporah for Moses in marriage. So what happened? When Moses comes in, he is welcomed so well, and the Pharaoh, this person Jethro discovers that Moses do not have anywhere else to go. So he tells him, stay with us. And what does he do? This man is very clever and very wise. He knows I don't have a son-in-law, so I'm going to give him my daughter so that he can stay and take care of my sheep. So now Moses is given a daughter Zipporah, and Zipporah becomes his wife. And now being married, and you know this is a very strange marriage for convenience. Moses had to marry. He had no choice. And also the other person, Jethro, had to get him a daughter so that he could stay. Now Moses is a slave now. Moses is becoming useless because now he's married. He's being given food, given a woman easily, given everything, given a home, and given work to do. Take care of the flock. That is the dowry you are going to pay us. So now he cannot argue anything. He belongs to that home. He will have to be a yes man. Whatever he's told, yes. What does God want to do with him? Why is he married to Zipporah? Because of one thing. God wants to bring that pride of him of Egypt of 40 years, education, everything that he learned in Egypt, being in a prestigious palace and all these things. His mind, God wants to bring it down so that he can humble. He can humble, and then after humbling, it will take the same years for Moses to be brought down. Now, he's somehow a slave to the house of Jethro. He will have to do what he's told. He will have to follow the order because he can do anything. He doesn't have anything. He's given everything. So he got to be quiet, and he can't go back to Egypt because the moment he goes to Egypt, they will kill him. So now he have no choice, but God wants to humble him. So Zipporah gave birth to a son, and Moses named him Gershom, meaning what? I have become an alien in a foreign land. That is, now he's naming his child, the first son. That is an alien, he's a foreigner in a foreign land. He doesn't know even where he is. That is the way he gives the name of his son. So he have decided to stay there. He have got no their home. He doesn't have to go anywhere else. Moses have decided to stay there, and you can see the way he's naming his own children. They are landless. They don't have a place. So he's an alien in a foreign land. That is the land which do not belong to him. And now he's a stranger, and he gets a stranger son. So they are all stranger in a foreign land. He doesn't have any home. He doesn't have anything. Yeah, and he traveler, sojourner. And that is the way we are, believers. We are sojourners in this land. We wait upon God to tell us what to do. So, my brothers and sisters, after this marriage, they continue being together because it was a marriage of convenience, and in-law were in charge, and he had to obey the orders in that home, and he had to do what he was supposed to do. And Zipporah was a good woman, I would say, because she respected Moses and she was an ideal woman. So what happened? So Israel calls upon God. So Moses, when now he's being there in the land of Midian, and he doesn't know what to do next. You can see now he's a foreigner. He have agreed to stay there until death. If something is happening back in Egypt, something is happening. People are crying. People have been tortured. People are suffering. And what do? During that long period of king of Egypt died. The king of Egypt died during that time. Moses was in the south. The Israelites ground in their slavery and cried out, and their cry for help because of their groaning, and God remembered them, remembered his covenant with Abraham. Because of their crying, and because of what I was saying, and because of the way they were calling God, God heard them. And this is one thing you got to note. For 400 years, when they went to Egypt, as God had told Abraham in the book of Genesis 15, God told Abraham, your generations will go to the land of Egypt, and they will be slaves there for 400 years. And then after that, I'll take them out. I'll rescue them there and take them to their own land. So the land which already Abraham was occupying, they will come back here and I'll give them because of the land covenant, as I told you last time. Now what happened? When they cried 400 years because of suffering, now God heard because he remembered the covenant. He remembered the covenant he had with Abraham. Now, what am I telling you? If you are in trouble, if you are in serious trouble, if you are suffering in whatever you are doing, if you cry and maybe even you don't know God, these people did not know God. There is no way they knew God because they had been amalgamated with the Egyptians. Remember, over 4 generations, 400 years. You see, if we put, that is 80 generations because every generation is 50 years. Now, 80 generations, these people were intermarried from Goshen. They married, they had power, they had authority in the land of Egypt because they were running the agriculture, they were running the treasury, they were running the wildlife, they were running everything because Joseph made a way. If you read about Joseph and how the brothers came in and how he took them to Goshen, he made the Egyptians to be very poor because he took their land, their money when they were coming to buy food during the 7 years of hunger. And he made sure even the land they gave to Egypt and their animals they gave to Egypt for Pharaoh. Now they had nothing. So the Egyptians were very poor in their own country. And when another king conquered the area, that's when they changed the vision. They took the Hebrews to be their slaves. And already the Hebrews had mixed up with the Egyptians, but still their tribe was known that they were Hebrew. And now they had no religion. If we shall come to study that, they had a big problem because even Joseph had lost the entity of his religion. You know, he was married to the daughter of the high priest of Oni, the god Ra. And when he married that daughter, even the first son, Manasseh and Ephraim, Jacob could not bless Manasseh because already Manasseh was given unto the gods of Egypt as the firstborn. So he had to bless Ephraim, who was a younger boy. And that's why Joseph was arguing with his father. Why are you doing this, father? This is not the right thing. Because he had crossed his hand across to Ephraim instead of Manasseh. That is the reason, because now Manasseh belongs to the gods of Egypt and Ephraim was taken to the gods of the Hebrew. Now, this being there, you can see now, after so many years, they lost the entity of God. They didn't know, but they remembered the covenant. They were hearing that this something will happen and God will remember them. They cried on that principle of remembering. And when they cried to God, whom they did not know for all those years, God remembered the covenant with Abraham. And when he remembered that covenant, God heard them. God heard their groaning and remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac and Jacob, because he had repeated the same covenant with Abraham, his son Isaac, and also Jacob. And we can see that Jacob, these 3 people, I told you the meaning of it. He remembered the covenant because Abraham was an altar man, that is building altars wherever he went. Isaac was a man of wells. He built wells wherever he passed by. And Jacob was a man of tents. He traveled wherever he went. And those are the roots of a Christian. A Christian must build altars, must also have altars in prayers and giving altars to God, respect to God, sacrifices. That is Abraham. And the wells, Christians must have wells. That is the wells of the living water. That is Isaac. Wells to drink the water of life. And then we have Jacob, who is a sojourner, a traveler. We are a traveler. We are strangers in this world. So we must live in tent. Whatever we have, we know that one day we are going home. So now we got to be careful. We don't lose God. We stay together with God. When you have that covenant of the three, the altars, the water, and that is the wells and the tents, that is enough for you to be able to be in the kingdom and start being a citizen of heaven. So God remembered the covenant with those three. And then, so what did God do? So God looked on the Israelites and was concerned about them. God looked down and was concerned about the people, his people, the Israelites. He remembered them. And he's using the name that he gave to his child called Jacob when they fought at the river Jabbok through the night struggling. He changed the name of Jacob, a slanderer, to a name called Israelites. Now, this is the name being used now, the Israelites. God remembered them. And remembering them now, we are going to see what God is going to do, because now God has heard their cry. And now Moses, they are being trained. We don't know God is going to use who, because when God remembers somebody, he must send somebody he will use, because the law of legality, sheria ya uwakili, the law of legality says the spirit cannot speak in the spirit without using a body. That's why the spirit speaks in us. That's why the spirit of Satan